Valerie Barker Bay is in jail because of you. What are you doing about it?
Peace and grand right. Original Indigenous Natural Divine Heirs. Today is June the 16th, 1442 on the ancient moon calendar, 1443 on the ancient sun calendar, 1443 on the civil Islamic calendar, and 2022 on the Greco-Roman calendar. All subjects do hereby rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity. This is a sovereign living ancient Article 3 Moorish American Al-Moroccan court action. We are the sovereign living justices in capitis diminutia nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sub juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. I am Pauline Denise Ritchie in capitis diminutia nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sub juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. My free chosen sovereign appellation is Light to Jure Bay, in capitis diminutia nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sub juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. All Moors are the original indigenous, sovereign, ancient Al-Moroccan Moorish American descendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves. For we are the people who are the original indigenous, natural divine, ancient empire state of Morocco. We are the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We are the universal Moorish American consulate and the Article 3 Moorish American consular court. We are peace. We are one nation. We are one state, one empire, and one God. We hereby accept our sovereign ascension and exercise all sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time, nunc pro tunc. Hopefully, we just finished our nationwide fast, the 13th, 14th, and 15th, our full moon fast. And I will tell you that our ancestors just continue to give us answer after answer after answer with regard to access to the vast estate. One of the things that the ancestors impressed on me with this fast was to take a couple of the fasts and go out onto the land and only eat what you find on the land, or in each meal that you have, if you eat during your fast. So some people eat do a sun up to sundown fast. Others do they fast from certain items like meat or sugar or something like that. But the ancestors said this time to go out onto the land and include at least one natural thing from the land in your meal, if not more. So of course I just did my I did the pine tree tea again. And among other things, because generally we pick dandelions and have that with a salad, or any fruit trees. The leaves on the fruit trees make great salad. So if you have fruit trees that maybe don't have any fruits blooming on them at this time, the leaves alone they will have a slight hint of the taste of whatever fruit it is. So they make great salad leaves. So how many of you, and this is a question moving on to the topic, one of the topics, how many of you knew from birth about the secret treaty of Verona? Or did you know about unum sanctum? Or did you know about dum diversus? Did you know about the doctrine of discovery or the treaty of peace and friendship from birth? From the time you were born, were you told about those things? And I will, let me see. I'll put it in just one moment. Let me put it in. Islam. And you can star 6. Did anyone know about any of those?
Is Angel Bay going to tell us about the free Mercedes?
Just one moment. Okay. Did anyone know about any of those documents when, from the time you were born? Did anyone even tell you?
Islam.
Nobility.
Donny El Simone Bay, New Brunswick Territory, New Jersey Republic.
Welcome, Empress.
Thank you, sir, lady. And absolutely not. I haven't learned this. I just found this out like a few months ago, actually.
Yeah.
So,
That's actually the case for all of us, I think. Most of us or all of us. But see, and the reason I asked that question of you all, and in the chat I see none of the Moors in the chat knew about these documents from birth. The reason I asked that question is to prove why we needed to put our documents in red on the public record first. Because there were those things were being acted upon us without our knowledge. So in those fake schools, all they taught us was how to fill out a job application, not telling us that when we fill out a job application or when we
Cynthia Bay, did you get a free conveyance?
Just a moment. Or when we fill out a job application, or when we were doing things in our sleep, like our signing Social Security cards and all of that, we did not know that all of those other documents were affecting what we did. But there was nothing that we wrote down in our sleep that was not directly affected by those documents. Secret Treaty of Verona, Unum Sanctum, Dum Diversa, Sesteq v. Act of 1666, Doctrine of Discovery, Treaty of Peace and Friendship. So my point being is there are when we put our documents in red on the public record, they're going to affect everything we do from that point. And that's what we want. What we want is we want it to be that no matter what we do, that the public record says, well, they're not being held under Sesteq v. the dead one. They're not corpses. No, they're not any of that. See, when we were in our sleep, if someone got pulled over, they got pulled over, and the policy enforcers already knew that nobody in the territory that we know of had declared their nationality, so they already knew they had a right, whatever, to pull someone over for a busted tail light, which is not unlawful, and then decide to search and take and snatch people and do this and that and the third, okay? And they were not acting on anything other than those documents and our just filling out one contract that we did not know was a contract. We didn't know that. So that is why it's so important to put the red documents on the public record. In the red documents, we put unum sanctum. Okay, we had to rewrite unum sanctum and originate it in our sovereign state. We had to. And now all Moors are the Roman Pontiff. And when we say the Roman Pontiff, it's in all lowercase letters, which means you're sovereign and you're not a corpse. And that the last statement in unum sanctum says that everyone is under the Roman Pontiff. Well, the Roman Pontiff is not one person. It's all Moors. Okay? So everyone, we have dominion over the earth. So that's where that comes from. So it's not like we're trying to enslave anyone, but we must take the natural order, rightful place. It has to be in order. It has to be. So that's why that's why 40-something read documents on the public record, because those documents state that we are the sovereign authority no matter what. No matter what the situation, no matter what is going on, we're the sovereign authority, and that's all Moors. So now that we have put the read documents on the public record, what are we doing? We're now manifesting the ancient principle of as above, so below. The read documents is the Savior speaking. So when you put those documents on the public record, you're saving yourself. And you're stating that I know I'm the Savior. I know I am. And now
Has Angel Bay got her free Mercedes? Did Angel?
The hybrids are now telling people that red writing is what their Savior uses. They know that. So now what are we doing? Now that we've put those on the public record, we can now engage in commerce and merchant actions, merchant court actions, without fear of being violated, because we know who we are. And that, knowing who we are, that comes from your mouth first. Documents, let's make this clear, documents can't save anybody. We save ourselves by what we know in our spirit and in our heart and in our mind. Because you can speak, when we're demonstrating, most of the time, we don't even have documents with us. You know, when you get pulled over, you don't have generally, you don't have some Moors do. But I know when I was tested, I didn't have a whole stack of documents, of red documents with me. So I had to state who I was and stand on that no matter what. And that's how we overcame our demonstrations and our tests. So now what are we doing? We're writing things in blue because we're now making it so that we've stated who we are in the spirit realm and over the earth, because we are, all Moors are the gods, okay, period. We have dominion over the whole earth. And so now what we're doing is exercising our dominion at commerce, which is what our ancestors did, okay? So that's why we're now now that we have them in red, now we're doing things in blue. And everything in blue is tied directly to the red documents. And what does that mean? Red is the land jurisdiction. And that's something that you can just Google, and a bunch of stuff will come up about red. The color red being the land jurisdiction, or red letter edition Bibles always had what the Savior said in red, right? So we've properly identified ourselves in red on the record as the sovereign original indigenous heirs and the supreme creditors, and now we're exercising our rights in commerce. We were doing commerce in our sleep while acting as, you know, United States Corporation Company citizens, not knowing that dumb diversa and secret treaty of Verona and all of that was affecting, okay, the things that we were doing. So in reality, Moors, we were the ones that were doing commerce based on a fraudulent identity in our sleep. We thought we were United States Corporation Company citizens. And really, I didn't even know about United States Corporation Company and anything like that. I didn't know about any of that. I just was thinking, well, my mother named me Pauline Denise Ritchie, so whenever I saw that, whether it was in capital letters or not, I just said, okay, that's me. We did not know the inner workings of all of that, but now we do. And so now that we have stated on the record, and by stated we mean bring everything that has to do with us is no longer stateless. It is properly stated. Okay, and so our commerce now is sovereign living admiralty and merchant law for the sea, and universal commercial codes, and the sovereign supreme law for the land, period. And first, the sovereign supreme law for the land, that's what the documents were about. It's stating that the supreme law of the land rules everything we do. And then we can talk about all the other things that we can cherry pick from the codes and statutes and then make it a law for us. And then anything that we don't, that we feel is not in alignment with the Constitution and the treaty, then it's notwithstanding. Then that's Article 6 of the Constitution. It says that. So the commerce that we are doing can only be done by living states and not by or through the dead. What have we done in order to properly state our commerce? You need to ask yourself that question. What have you done in order to properly state your commerce? Because we see something evolving that's not going to evolve much longer here. It's got to stop. But we're in transition, so that's why it's here or there, because it's not here, it's there. We're noticing it. And I know the ancestors are showing us, what they want us to see. There are some Moors who feel comfortable filling out the forms of those, the quote-unquote IRS Form 56 and the Form W-9 and the 1099 and the OID and all of that. Some feel comfortable doing that. Let me just say this. To those that are doing that, yes, we're in transition. You don't need to be afraid. However, just know this is full disclosure on those forms. Those forms, when you fill them out, if you don't have, and even if you do have the red documents on the public record at this point, it is suggested that you not fill out their forms, but that you take the form and do an affidavit. And here's what I see in looking back in history. There's a crime in history that kicked off the Civil War. Okay, that crime is called sedition and treason. Okay, and you might say, well, what does that have to do with me and a form? Well, you cannot. So first of all, what does sedition mean? Sedition is speaking, acting, or writing, or inciting anti-government rhetoric in order to bring a government down. Well, we know who the government is. We're the government. So that's not really what's happening. That's not our intention. But if you're calling those foreigners fake, and you're saying they're fake, they're not real, all of that, but then you turn around and fill out their Form 56 and their W-9 and their W-2, and you don't state who you really are, you're risking that type of label, okay? And I'm saying this now to get ahead of the curve because I see the curve happening. You can't call them fake, which they are. They're fake, but you can't call them that and then appeal to them for resources and help. You have to put them in subject status first. And in order for you to do that, you have to declare that you created them, that you're the savior. And the way to do that is to do it by putting red documents on the public record. There's a reason why from the very beginning we were all told to autograph our documents in red. There's a reason for that. Even before before the ancestors revealed the capitalism piece to us, we were autographing our documents in red for a reason. I'm so grateful for our teachers who stood all these years. They stood while we were just snoring, sound asleep, They stood and they waited for us to wake up so that we could see and come in with our eyes wide open and just look at what the ancestors are saying and put it into effect and activate things for us. So why am I saying all of this? We must be you must be a sovereign state in order to get any benefit at all. You must be part and parcel for your government. You must be. And I would encourage everyone, and again, we're just getting ahead of the curve on what we see. I would encourage everyone to read the Montevideo Act of 1933, and I'll put it in the chat. It's the Montevideo Act, and I'll also put it on the screen, of 1933, so that you can at least know that whoever it is that you're dealing with has done what needs to be done, because some of the things that we're seeing are, you know, I'm just like, we can do better. For example, there are some, and again, all temples are not bad. We are grateful for the temples being here, the Moorish Science Temples of America. We're grateful for them. However, some, and even some who are not a part of the temple, are saying that their government and their state, and they were not even responsible in their sleep. But they're having people sign all of their domiciles, their conveyances, and everything over to them, over to people who never owned a domicile even in their sleep. They were not responsible in their sleep. So it's important that we govern our own affairs and then do our research. And for us, we are not even saying join anything, because you can't join something that you're already attached to by blood. There's no sense. That's why we don't have a membership card. We don't have one. Our nationality card for all Moors is their membership and their bloodline and birthright. And the blood is really that. That's the membership. But we don't have to say anything about membership or anything like that, because it's not necessary for us at this point, simply because we know that by bloodline and birthright, we're all connected. Those who are saying sign all your stuff and all your rights over, and you can never, it's irrevocable. Moors, just be careful of that. That's all I'm saying is keep an eye out, and do not turn your estate over to someone else like that. If you feel comfortable with someone else saying, hey, you know, we're this and this and this and that, and you know, you got to turn all your stuff over, and it's a trust document, and you got a non-disclosure, so you can't tell anybody. Just be careful. When people say you can't tell anybody about this, just be careful. That's all I'm saying. I just want to get ahead of the curve, because some of that stuff is going on. And on top of that, they're charging fiat for all of that stuff. So just, you know, Moors, just follow your spirit, because everyone who has come and said, look at what they want me to sign. Everyone who has come there has come and said that and showed us those things. They knew in their spirit not to sign it. And they just wanted someone else to look at it and say, what do you think about this? You know, they're not looking for permission, because we can't give, you can't tell the sovereign what to do. But you can make suggestions, and you can point to the law. And that's really what we do more than anything, is point to the law. And then if it's a suggestion, we say it's a suggestion, but we still going to point you to the law even in the suggestions. You know, we all have to be competent to govern our own vast estate. So when you start hearing things like that, follow your spirit. Your spirit will tell you not to sign anything, all your stuff over to, without any research or anything. We're smarter than that, Moors. We're better than that. We're better than that. And some who are doing that, I'm not even denigrating them, because at some point, everything that they're putting out there, they're going to be tested on it. The ancestors will test on everything we put out there. They always do. They always do. So when I hear of people doing things like that, I just say, you know, I don't have to worry about it because they're going to be tested on what they're putting out there. And the energy we put out there is the energy that's coming back. So just more be careful about that kind of thing. And I wouldn't even say be careful, because that indicates that we have something to fear. We don't have anything to fear. Just do your research. And I'll say this about that too. You don't have to not listen to anybody. Listen to everybody. This is me saying this. You heard this straight from Light to Jerry Bay. Listen to everybody. And then put what they say through your sovereign filter. And your truth will stand up. It's going to stand up to whatever is being said. Your spirit will tell you, that's a little shady, or, oh, this is good, I can take this. And sometimes shady and good will come together, and you'll know to take the meat and spit out the bones, you know. So the reason that we feel so comfortable saying, listen, you don't have to tune anybody out. Listen to everybody, because everybody's going to put some things in there that you can use. Everybody's a resource. Even the foreigners have some little tidbits of truth in all that colorability and lies that they tell, you know. So when you listen to them, you can kind of hear, okay, that's a little bit of something right there. Let me look into that, you know. And then the rest of that stuff, you know. So we feel comfortable saying listen to everybody. You don't have to tune anybody out. Listen to them, because truth ain't going to change. It's not going to change. It's going to be the same. And so your truth meter is the truth meter. Nobody else's, yours is, and you know that already. Sovereigns know that. So just do your vetting and your research on contracting with Moors, because we're moving into that thing where Moors are starting to contract with one another by way of sovereign contracts. And here's the thing, don't ever let anybody tell you that anything you sign is irrevocable. Don't let anybody tell you that. You're sovereign. And everything you say is the law the minute you say it for you. So when it comes to your estate, people can say it's irrevocable all day, but it's not. You're sovereign. Now, do we want to sign things knowing that we're going to revoke? No, we go in honorably. Okay? We want to be honorable. But by the same token, just know that if there was something that wasn't disclosed, then, you know, or if there was something that and more, you bear the responsibility of doing your homework too. You know, don't just haphazardly sign things just because of what they say, because we hear a lot of people saying things like, oh, he got all his tax money back by doing this process, and then the process is going to cost you 450 Federal Reserve debt notes, and you'll never see a dime, because he never got his money back either, whoever, you know. And I'm just using that as a general example, because we hear that a lot, you know. He got all this money back. What did he get back really? Did he get back some fiat? And has he proven that's what happened? Did you see the documents, the paperwork? And even if you did, still be careful if it's not sovereign lawful gold back money, you know. So that's all I'm going to say about that, because what all of this is leading to is what I want to show you. At Commerce, regarding even filling out their forms. See, when you fill out their forms, they're going to put you where their forms say you should go. And they have a debtor, they're a debtor society. They're not even a nation or a state, they're a debtor society. And by them being a debtor society, their forms only lead to debt. So you speak by affidavit. because even in the highest laws of commerce, affidavits are truth. If you look at the Mining Act of 1872, when them hybrids first came here, and we're not mad at them. We love the hybrids. They did their job. They did their job. They woke us up, didn't they? So, or they assisted us in waking ourselves up. Let me put it that way, because they don't have the authority to wake us up. But anyway, the Mining Act of 1872, they used affidavits to claim, quote unquote, their citizenship, so that they could get access to the land and start digging for gold. Just look at the Mining Act of 1872. You'll see it there, that it's just one little sentence out of that whole thing. And they took that one little sentence and ran with it. They said, oh, we got access to the Moors estate. Let's get these citizenship affidavits on the record. And all it took was an affidavit for them. And then they got over here and realized that, oops, we can't dig up the Moors estate. Oops. So what did they do? They just engaged in commerce and opened, stores, acted out opening up stores and, things like that. So what are we saying now? This is the part that I wanted to really focus on, is the all caps name. Either you have an all caps that you're using that belongs to them, which you do not want to do. You want to lean that one. And then you want to put your own sovereign natural person in that place. And when I say natural person, again, it's a tool. The reason that I'm issuing things with a sort of a sense of urgency or a little bit of warning in it is what I'm about to show you on the screen. Let's see. And I'll put the link to this in the chat. This is what it says. It says, new filing requirements for Oregon business entities take aim at shell companies. Okay, and it's not just happening at Oregon territory, it's happening everywhere, because the Moors said no more shell corporations. What is a shell corporation? A nom de jure. A nom de jure, that's all it is. It's just an all caps, as issued by the United States Corporation Company, the dead one. And this is happening all over our land, because we said, if y'all don't stop issuing those corpses on our land when we're the state, and there's no if, they have to stop. So they stopped doing that. They stopped doing it. And what they're doing now is starting to prosecute people for fraudulent identity, because people are not declaring their nationality and stating who they really are. So let's take a look at what they're saying here. Let's go to this page. Just a moment. And, Moors, you all are, because of the work that we've all been doing, we now have the information that we need in order to assist other Moors and point them in the right direction. with regard to all caps, okay? And by the way, this website is a quote-unquote legal website. But if you'll notice, they're putting things in capitis diminutio minima, and then they have their logo in capitis diminutio maxima in blue, because they know. But here's what it says, and hopefully you all can see this on the screen. Let me just make sure that it's on the screen.
Empress?
Yes, Islam.
Islam. This is Karima Bay, Virginia Territory. They're starting to create courts too, and like their own de facto courts. They're doing that, and it seems like they're still opening up a lot of shell corporations too. It appears that that's what's going on. Like they keep creating different companies, you know, with the same addresses.
So all they're really doing is removing the corporate covering off of the resource. That's really what you're seeing. And in preparation for us to be in our offices.
Okay. And they're starting some UCC filing corporations too.
Yes, because the citizens who are on our land, they know that they're not under the dead United States Corporation Company anymore. And that's why you're seeing the new creation of things, because they know that we're awake, okay, and they know that we're competent. And so they feel comfortable now moving in that manner. And all they're doing, Empress, is modeling for us what we need to see. Again, like our prophet said, they're going to be left here long enough to teach us how to govern. That's all they're doing. So we just look at what they're doing and make sure that we stay in our sovereign state, and we state everything. We bring everything. When I say we state it, that means we bring it into our sovereign state and use it. I'm seeing that happen all over too. And as that is happening, Empress, and I appreciate you saying that, because as that's happening, you can see the corpse piece falling. That whole thing that illusion that we thought was real.
That virtual reality that you were speaking about before, they're going into virtual world? Okay.
Yes, yes, yes. And everything that's happening now, see, they're opening things that they couldn't open before because we were asleep. They're now pointing at UCCs because they were not using any of that and they weren't honoring anything before. But they have to actually line up with the law. They have to. So now they're saying, okay, well, we got to have some courts. The Moors said we could have inferior courts according to the Constitution. So let's just see what's happening. But we have to do what the Moors tell us. Okay. Speaking of courts, I did a demonstration today where I went. Okay, we'll talk about that at another time. It's a beautiful demonstration, but it's for those who have put your sovereign state constitutions on the public record. It's huge. I'm telling you, it's huge. But I went to an inferior court today. They're doing everything that they're supposed to do with regard to the things that we put on the public record. And so when you see them, Empress, you know, referring to UCCs and things like that, they're also preparing to follow Chapter 29 of the Circle 7 of the Holy Quran, which talks about magistrate and subject. So they're going to be doing subject duties as we, the magistrates, speak. Okay, so that's what they're doing is preparing for that part. As we arise, then all of fallen humanity rises too. So that's what you're seeing. And then the corporation, or the companies rather, are really just custodians in the office of, and they had to shut down and then reopen, and not really reopen because it's fresh and new, because they have a new charter. The charter is the Constitution. So when we go into these places and we talk about the Constitution and see more, that's another thing. We have to start sending our documents ahead of us so that they already know when they see us coming what's happening, that the Constitution is in full effect for us, you know. So I'm glad
that's supreme insight.
Yes, and thank you for that, Empress, too. I'm glad you can see it. I'm so glad you can see. Your third eye is just wide open.
Empress, it appears. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Empress.
No, I don't want to cut your wisdom. Go ahead.
Finish.
No, go ahead, Empress.
I'll wait.
Okay. I was saying also that it appears that they're using properties too as collateral to get loans. I'm seeing a little bit of that. So when I see it, I lean the property.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. The demonstration that we did today was that same issue, and it wasn't really an issue. They're actually just occupying until we come, and you've already started the process of that, of your arrival by leaning. Because we've been doing liens, but now our liens have risen in competence.
Yes, mine is really getting different. It's getting deeper.
Yeah, yeah. And and what you're seeing is them preparing for us to show up, for the Christ for the return of Yeshua. That's what you're seeing. So there's things they have to do as we continue to rise. The subjects do, according to chapter 29 of the Holy Quran. It talks about how they put their trust in us to assist us in rising to our sovereign power. That's what it states in the Circle 7. And that happens to be my favorite chapter in the Circle 7. I'm trying to see if my Circle 7 is here. It's usually right in front of me. I might have taken it upstairs. But chapter 29 of the Circle 7, as written by the Holy Prophet Jure, just check it out. What you're seeing right now is the subjects preparing to continue to assist us in rising. That means, Moors, that we're going to be tested sometime to see if we know what we know and if we're peaceful as we proceed. And so we're not mad at the testing. All it's doing is sharpening us, making us sharp, and because when as we pass the test, the ancestors say, okay, you did that here. Now you have access to this and this and that and this and that. We hear them talking about conveyances and domiciles and things like that. That's the tip of the iceberg. There's some ancient things that we have access to that make that stuff look like, and I don't want to say trash, but so I won't say trash.
Islam.
There's so much more for us. That's included now, but there's more. So we don't want to, what we don't want to do is and we're not going to do it, is continue to try and get benefits from a place that doesn't have any benefits. We must know that we're the beneficiaries, but we're also the creditors. So we have to set up our own way to make the stuff come to us. That's what we do, is we prepare the way for everything to come to us. Make sure, more that you, and this is a lawful suggestion, that you lean the nom de jure. Please lean that thing and lean the social. Lean them. And then because you can't just lean them and not have any way to convey your estate to you. You must convey your estate to you by putting your all caps natural person on your fiduciary document. Please do that. That's so important. Just one moment. I need to unlock the meeting because I'm getting text about that. Okay. Let's look at what's on the screen with regard to what they're saying about these all caps. Because again,
come on, Angel Bay, we want to hear all about your demonstration in the new car, Angel Bay.
That's one
Angel
moment.
Bay.
Come on in, Empress. There were more waiting outside the meeting, and I want to make sure that they can get in. I want to be sure. If they're in the chat, Empress. Okay.
There's I don't know if he got in yet either. Another brother wanted to get in also.
Okay. Let me go ahead and I'll unlock it. I'll leave it unlocked and just
No, I told him to get in soon, so
yeah.
I'll let you know when he gets in.
Okay. Thank you, Empress. So here, let's take a look. It says, as of January 1st, 2018, the Oregon Secretary of State, which we know that that's just an office of ours, must collect additional information from business entities when filing organizational documents, merger and conversion documents, and other business filings. The new law, known as House Bill 2191, is aimed at eliminating altogether anonymous shell corporations and contains the following new informational requirements. Anonymous and stateless are the same thing. Anonymous and stateless are the same because there's a lack of...
How many Moors have applied for a job and not filled out an application like Pauline told you?
Okay, there's no proper identification. Okay. It says, principal place of business must be disclosed by all new business corporations, professional corporations, and limited liability companies. This must be a physical street address and not commercial, mail receiving agency, mail forwarding company, or virtual office. Now, Empress, you mentioned virtual previously, and we can see them going up into the virtual metaverse or whatever it is that they're doing. In other words, they're leaving our land and we're here. And when I say they, I mean the dead corporations. Okay, we're not talking about the subjects. The subjects will be here because they're subjects for as long as, you know, we need them to be here. And it's not really a matter of need as much as it is, that's what the Quran says, that they are to assist us in being raised to our sovereign power. That's what magistrate and subject, chapter 29.
When I go down the rabbit hole, Empress, it appears too that they're working from home. You know, like when I go and go down the rabbit hole, it's like the address that they put on whatever document I'm looking at. When I go to look up that address, is a house.
Yeah.
Is a house that they appear to be living in.
Yes. So when I say that they're leaving, I mean they're getting out of the buildings and things like that because those are our offices. All of that, all the structures belong to us. And there has to be a transition period where they transition out and we transition in peacefully. You know, so we've shown you, for example, the building down the street that we did our demonstration on. And as soon as the demonstration was over and we were back at our domicile, we went and looked and there was a big vacancy thing on the building. They had to get out of the building because we claimed it. And that was over a year ago, and it's there waiting on us to finish the process. And so That's what we're working to do now, is finish the process. And the ancestors are giving us the concepts, the precepts to do that, so that everything that we do is inviolable. In other words, nobody can come and kick the door in and say, you're not supposed to be here. Okay. That's on the screen is part of that. It says, so again, they're virtual. Virtual just means, you know, not in anything 3D. Not in this dimension. It says articles of incorporation or organization, as well as amended, restated articles, merger, and conversion filings. It says must provide the name and address of an individual with direct knowledge of the operations and business activities of the corporation or limited liability company. And again, we don't have names. We have appellations. We don't have addresses. We have mailing locations. And then our state has natural persons who have innvited, or all capitalized natural persons. Okay, it looks like a name, but it's really not. It's a natural person. Pauline Denise Ritchie is a natural person in all capital letters in blue. On my fiduciary document, that is a natural person. I'm not a person. That's a person. My instrument is a person. And that's why they always talk about slavery and servitude. Those all caps, as stated by us, are our servants. They go and get the resources and things that we need. That's what we use them for. That's what we use in all caps for, is to do commerce and things like that, and to get our benefits coming to us. That's a method of conveyance. It says, this would include a corporate director or controlling shareholder or member manager of an LLC. And then this is the most important part right here. Signers must acknowledge under penalty of perjury that the document does not fraudulently conceal, obscure, alter, or otherwise misrepresent the identity of the person or any of the officers, directors, employees, or agents of the corporation, or the members, managers, employees, or agents of the corporation or LLC. What does that mean? That means that you have to be yourself, and your all caps must be properly stated as a natural person. By you, your government, your state. And we do that with this letterhead that we use, okay? And we do it with our affidavits. And then we state who we really are. And that's what the red documents on the public record, first and foremost, is all about. That states who we really are. We're the Savior. We're the Lord. We're the gods. We're the creditors. We're the heirs. We're the executors, ministers, claimants. We're the trustees of our own vast estate. We're everything. We're all of that. We're the sovereigns. We're the ancients. We're all of that. So when we do sign or autograph anything with regard to starting our sovereign living natural corporation, that we state who we really are, and that we notify by living affidavit who we are. And for example, again, Moors, we need not be afraid of anything. We're not afraid of anything. What we're to do is look at the forms the same way we looked at the fake birth certificate. We said, okay, we need the elements contained in here, but we need to properly state these elements. You know, it has a name there, so we have a sovereign born appellation. So on our natural sovereign living birth affidavits, we rebut the birth certificate point for point. We rebut driver's license point for point. We rebut social security numbers point for point. Anything that was handed to us, instead of it being something that we produce, must be rebutted. it must be rebutted. Okay? And then it must be rebutted with our proper nationality on the public record. I'll tell you what's really developing here, even in the language and the wording that they use here. They're telling you that the person, the identity of the person is not the same as the officers, directors, employees, or agents of the person. They're saying the same thing that we're telling you about the all caps, is that it must be properly in your sovereign state on the public record. Okay? And we were speaking to one of the Moors the other day who, you know, she took the time to design her own, you know, letterhead and things like that. And for your family crests and things like that, that is absolutely what should be done. But when you're talking about state property and state-owned protections and, you know, the things that have to do with governing this vast estate, we should all be using the same Moorish government letterhead in one form or another. Okay? That is what has proven to be the powerhouse for us as we continue this grand rising, is when they see our documentation coming through on this letterhead, whether it be in red or blue, we get the respect and the activity that the nobles deserve. Okay, and that's not an arrogant statement. That's not anything where we want people always on their knees, you know, kowtowing and begging. We don't want that. But our word is honor. Okay, and that's because the identity of the person, the all caps, is actually being stated by the fiduciary for the all caps. And that's why they say the identity of the person or any of the officers. A fiduciary is an officer. So they're telling you there that there should be an officer attached to the person. And actually the person should be attached to an officer. Let me put it that way. And the difference being is that the fiduciary tells the person what to do and governs the person by court action. If you have a person, then you need to be governing that person by court action. No other court should be governing your person. Okay? No other courts. Job, the 32nd chapter, verses 21 and 22 state that that we are not to accept any man's person. And when people are talking about you signing things over to them, they are trying to take your person when you should be governing your person. You're the court, you're the law, you're the bank, you're all of that. And then they use some language here that says that they're getting in alignment with what we told them. It says the law also gives the Secretary of State, Department of Revenue, courts, and they put courts in all lowercase letters, and Attorney General, because they know they're talking about not them, because they don't have those authorities. We're the state secretaries. We're the Revenue Department. We're the Attorneys General. We're all the generals. We're the consuls, all of that. It says that those have broad enforcement powers, including the power to dissolve a business used as a shell company or organized for illegal purposes. Illegal purposes is fraudulent identity. So now they have not only gotten in alignment with what we told them about those fake identities that they, you know, when we were in our sleep, and even when we first woke up as Moors, we would go into those courts and we would be talking about the Constitution, and they would say who we are, and as soon as we say, I'm Light Tajiri Bey, they would put that in all capital letters and create a shell corporation on that. And we showed you that. Or they would use Pauline Ritchie and create a shell corporation. And we told them, you're going to stop doing that. That stops. Well, who can stop it? We have the authority to stop it. No one else has that authority. We do. And the way we stop it is we lean their ability to use any of that. We lean them and the shell and the social. Lean it and then produce and generate your sovereign living all caps and your sovereign living sovereign security number. Because the subjects are going to do what we told them to do about those shell corporations, because even 2 or 3 years ago, the judiciary put something on the public record that said that we were yanking all corporate charters. Well, an all caps has to have a charter. See, people didn't even know they had to have a charter. The charter is the Constitution. So the all caps, and this is the reason why when we put things on the public record, we put it on the public record and we say we and all Moors, so that you're covered with your natural person is covered with a charter. As long as you're declaring your nationality, period, you're covered. And then you need to know how you're covered so you can state it for yourself. So we're going to continue leaning, like the Empress was saying. When you see those shell corporations pop up and it's looking like something kind of off or whatever, if you're prompted to, lean it. I'll say this too, that people have gotten a little bit crafty because they, when you go out into the territories, there are some who are operating as 501c3s and they're not telling people that that's what they are. They're operating as 501c3s, but they're doing things, they're doing just regular commerce. There's nothing religious about what they're doing. They're just doing regular commerce. And that means that there's not full disclosure. And if there's not full disclosure, because see, if you use, let's say you swipe a card with them and you're saying I'm using sovereign credits. I'm not using fiat, I'm using sovereign credits, because the account that I'm using, it has a termination of corporate contracts on the public record. Well, then they might have a problem. They might have a problem because when you put your red documents on the public record, and it's not that the things are going to go through, they're going to go through, but then anything that comes through for you is going to be looked at because they already know who we are. And when I say looked at, whoever it is out there that's doing commerce as the dead, that's what this is talking about. Okay. So Moors, it is paramount and very important that you properly put your fiduciary document on the public record with regard to any all caps that you create, any that you use, any of that. And don't fill out their forms. Please don't fill out their forms. Don't do it. That's Islam? Just Islam Empress.
It's really strange because in the debt system, their elites, so-called elites, they don't use what the citizens use. They have their own special credit.
Yeah.
Everything is done in credit. And so to watch the people who are not aware of how it really works, you watch the struggle of getting those instruments that belong to them, and there's just no way around it. If you are holding those instruments, you're going to have to pay one way or another. You're never free from that thing they call IRS and their banking system. they have cornered everyone who uses those instruments. So the only way I see out is our de jure, clean and clear and honest system. There's nothing else. And as we know, I don't know if anyone else is looking around at this particular point, you know, there's nothing to go back to. Things are falling apart. So I would just encourage the one who still needs to use those notes to do a little more investigation of, you know, what they're really asking of themselves and their families, and of the, you know, of our family at whole in our Moorish nation. I yield. Islam.
Islam. So, Empress, that's good. That's good what you said there. I would like to add a little bit more onto that, if I may. So that system that you referred to that has everyone in a pickle about taxes and all of that stuff, that's our system. They owe taxes to us. And that's why we have to be ourselves so that we can get what's rightfully ours. And everyone else has to be themselves too. Because we told the subjects to get our stuff. And we said if there's anybody in there who's not properly identified, put them out. Well, we got to be properly identified too. And we have to be sincere in what we're doing, and we have to do it no matter what. We have to keep going no matter what, because the system is being handed to us. It's our system. And anytime they see contracts, citizen contracts, those contracts are null and void, and not only null and void, but they're prosecutable. They're prosecutable. So when I talked about sedition and treason at the beginning of these calls, it's only because I keep seeing those words popping up, and the ancestors are saying, make sure you tell them about this, that they can't keep calling those people fake, but then turning right around and filling out their 1099A and 1099 OID, thinking that the fakes are going to give you something after you done talked about them like a dog. They ain't going to give you nothing but a jail time, a hard time. Don't do it. Use your affidavits to get your benefits. Use your affidavits to speak. Don't fill out their forms. And some of their forms are red forms. And I see more doing it, and I don't want to jump on anybody like that, because but we have to tell the truth. Those forms are not going to help anyone. And the beauty of our ancestors is this. There are some Moors who've done all of those processes, and in their heart they were wanting to do the right thing and still protect themselves and get their homes and make sure that they stay, you know, with at least keep what they have. The ancestors are going to honor that. They're going to honor the energy. So it's, again, nothing to be afraid of, but when we know better, we have to do better. But see, the system has already switched too. It's switched. And that's the thing about all of that. Because at some point, forms are going to be good to fill out. At some point. Why? Because the system will have fully transitioned to us. And you will know that first by your spirit. The ancestors will, when you look at a form, the ancestors will say, okay, go ahead and do that. But make sure you send an affidavit with it. Make sure you send your fiduciary document with it. You know, at some point we'll do that, and at some point I'm going to do that demonstration, but not before some other things are done first. You know, I have I talked last meeting about matching what they have done point for point. We already have sovereign living birth affidavits and we're not even matching what they did. We're superseding what they did. We're superseding the birth certificate. We're superseding the social security number. We're superseding the United States Corporation Company pretending to be a state and a nation when they're not. We superseded that. We just have to keep going. So, you know, yes, everybody wants benefits. Everybody wants benefits. We are the beneficiaries. We should want benefits. And we are owed benefits. We are due benefits. There's benefits due to us. But we want to proceed. We want to proceed as the beneficiaries in a competent manner, so that we don't have to deal with all of that other stuff. So that we don't have to dig ourselves out of and have to demonstrate our way out of that fake womb over there. Womb and tomb. And it's the same over there. Womb and a tomb is the same over there. You know. So the safest way that I see to do that, and it's not even a matter of safe, it's just a matter of it's lawful, is to speak by affidavit. Government affidavit. Speak by government affidavit. So, so that you don't have to worry about someone talking about this filing requirements, shell corporations and companies. You know, that's the least of our worries, because we know we are in complete control of our, yes, just as Sheikh Klein says the all caps is for business. Absolutely it is. It's for commerce and merchant things. But it must be in the proper state. It can't be stateless. And if it's issued by them and you're using their forms to deal with it, it's stateless. It's stateless. And the ones that I see using those forms, I will say this about, and this has just been my experience, it's not everybody's experience, but I have yet to see anybody who was filling out those forms trying to get a benefit, I have yet to see them just get even what they were looking for. Not to mention living like a beneficiary. I have yet to see any of that, and it's not, you know, I know that we need to be speaking by affidavit because universal commercial codes require that when you're talking about commerce. And when you're talking about creditors, that's where the creditor, we define the creditor by universal commercial codes. Not uniform ones, but universal commercial codes. And the supreme law of the land, of course, because that's first and foremost, you know. So we're just kind of wanting to make sure that we put information out there so that as we're moving forth more, that we're all moving forth with full disclosure about what's happening. Okay. And again, if you've done some things like that, jurisdiction can be invoked at any time. So you can just invoke jurisdiction, put it in red, and do what you do. Okay. Islam. Let's see. Okay. And then now, speaking of corporations and business and companies and commerce and prosperity and all of that, as you all know, we've been introducing our banking and our money, which we're very, very proud of. And, you know, we heard a lot of some negativity about the money when we first introduced it, but I am so happy to say that some of our main critics are now they're stating the right things in terms of there were some who, you know, they didn't really want to get on board with Delarium, so they've instituted credit systems and things like that, where they say, and you know, we got to look at those carefully, especially if they're offering you credits by way of a fiat contract. Please be careful with that, or be aware. You don't have to be careful because we're not going to do anything, you know, the ancestors will lead all of us. But there are some who are instituting credit systems where they say you can get 50,000 Islamic credits for, you know, but you got to sign these contracts here, these irrevocable trusts and things like that. Listen, Morris, and then they'll charge you 200 or 300 Federal Reserve debt notes. Well, if their credit system really works, then they would say, we'll take some of our own credits because we prefer those, they work, instead of using the fiat system. And, you know, we do. We say, we don't want fiat, give us Delarium. We want Delarium because we know our money is lawful. We prefer our own money. And if you really think more than you all are thinkers, you know this already. Them fakes, and I'll say the corporate, because we want to be, you know, noble about the things we say. We don't want to call them too many names. But the corporates, all they did was say, go get a job and we'll earn our fiat, and then we'll tax that fiat back from you. The fiat that they printed, they say give it back. And then they start telling you, oh, you owe more fiat than you brought in, so you got to go to jail. But they gave the fiat in the first place. So why would they throw you in jail? Just print some more and give them some more. But anyway, so, you know, our ancestors are giving us what we need as a nation and as the state. And again, that's all Moors are, the state, to move forward in our, you know, in our commerce. And for those who have put the constitutions on the public record, this is what we're doing now with regard to that. We are now, for our Moorish states, developing prosperity production plans. This is an economic plan. Speaking of, you know, all caps. Here, let's go ahead and put this on the screen. Speaking of the all caps, we can use all caps, okay? But again, it has to be on our fiduciary document, and we have to have leaned the fake all caps, because we're not at war, we're at peace. And our all caps is a peaceful blue Admiralty natural person. So what we have done with regard to the constitutions, we put the constitutions on the public record, okay? And when we put the Constitution and the county charters on the public record, then we go out onto our land, because we've properly and competently stated that it's our land. And we say, okay, what resources do we have on our land? What resources do we have? Well, we see that we have, here I've just put together a very abbreviated chart of the resources that we have on our land, because see, we'll be using our money system to do the exchanges on these resources. We're not going to use fiat. And if in your territory you have whatever you have in your territory, if it can be harvested and exchanged for what we have in our territory, then we'll all have more than enough. And then on our books, we put that forth as dollarium, denominated in dollarium, okay, or nominated in dollarium, named in dollarium. But what we have here, for example, we've talked about the sea salt that we have at our territory. So that's product A. And here we just put what months of the year can we harvest mineral sea salt. We can do that all year. Okay. The only times that we don't do it is around the full moon of each month, because the water is a lot more active during that time. Product B, pine tree tea. We can harvest that April, May, June, July, depending. Okay, and probably we could do that all year, but we still have to do the rest of the research on when those are, when that resource is available. Product C, blackberry tea. Blackberries are beautiful here, August, September, October, November time frame. And then we talked about, we looked at the shale oil and the tar sands oil and the seagrass meadows sugar. And I've left off a lot of others that we have done the research on in our territories also. For example, we have gold and silver in our territory. And we know exactly where it is. We know how to find it. We've already claimed all that we need to claim. And we're going to continue putting things on the public record that way. And we'll show you how we did that, okay? And it came by way of the Constitution and the charters that we put on the public record, okay? And then there's some documents that come after that, of course, title to the land and all of that. And we have those, and we also have it where the inferior courts have witnessed what we have stated on the public record. So we can actually literally point to the backing of the dollarium. We can point to where the gold is. We can point to where the silver is. We can point to where any other thing that we decided to back it. We could back it. We could back the dollarium with black-eyed peas if we wanted to, you know, because it's natural and it's on our land. We could have done that. So there's no limit to how much we can print. We just need to be able to tie all of it back to the land, and we're able to do that. And we'll be showing you over the next few weeks, but we wanted to show you this week so that you can start going out into the territories and looking at the resources that are out there. Because one thing that you will hear the subject saying in their media, they talk about things like a lack of a supply chain. And they talk about how they can't get things from China and they can't get baby formula from different places and this, that, and the third. Well, we Moors have the authority to set up our own Silk Road or trade routes or exchange conveyance routes and things like that. Okay, we have the authority to do that, and that's what we're going to do so that everyone eats. Okay, so that no one is lacking. Because as the store shelves empty, we can replace what's there with things that work with our bodies well, so that even illness is diminished, if not completely done away with. Okay, so we're not intimidated in the least bit by the amount of work that we see that needs to be done with regard to our commerce and our merchant actions and things like that. We're not even a little bit bothered by that, because we know that with that other thing doing what it's doing, that other system, people will work when it's time to eat. If you're not getting enough food and you know where to get it from, and you want to help it's all hands on deck and us doing what we need to do. We have all the help we need, by the way. So nobody has to feel like they have to do things by themselves. Okay? The ancestors just want us to get up and get started. Okay? As we make our move, that other thing says, okay, they got that part. They have their degree, their Masonic degree in merchant cards. So let's start cutting off cards over here. I heard a story today, and I could put a link in the chat to the video, but I don't know if I want to push their stuff because it's corrupted. But I heard a story today of someone who went onto YouTube talking about how they went into Bank of America today, and they wanted to deposit some quote-unquote cash and get a money order for the cash to give to someone that they were doing business with. And so the two of them went into Bank of America in Khalifa territory, and and again, this is corporate Bank of America, which is not even a real thing. And the custodian in the office of the real Bank of America opened the door and said, we can't accept the deposit because and they said because there are no tellers, but if they're standing right there, a teller is the same as an informant. Okay. The informants on the birth certificate, where you see that where they gave a fraudulent name to mother, and they said mother is an informant. Because I showed you the birth certificate that they fraudulently issued to us, Islam.
May you explain that to me, please? A little bit.
So on the birth certificates that were issued to us by corpses, there's a space on there for it says name of mother. And on that, it says name of mother, and then under that it says informant. So all they're doing is saying we got consent to label this being a corpse by mother. And mother is listed as an informant on most birth certificates. Maybe not all, but I haven't heard of any that where she's not listed as an informant on the birth certificate. And that's why I would not want to authenticate that, because my mother was not an informant. Okay?
It's Islam members.
Islam.
The reason why I asked is because on my birth certificate, what you're saying is basically what I'm seeing before my eyes. Yes.
So it was on the one that they issued fraudulently to us as well. So we just leaned the all caps name and its agents, principals, heirs, assigns, and any derivatives thereof, and that covers that fraudulent instrument. And that's why we don't authenticate that, because my mother was not an informant. She was mom.
Islam.
So it's Empress, don't panic. Just get your lien document ready.
Of course. And Islam,
yes.
lady, one more thing, Empress, one more thing. I have like 2 documents to my birth certificate.
Mm-hmm.
And the second document, it says something like items to be amended, and
mm-hmm.
items omitted or an error with my father's name on there.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of did my own research on it, the etymology on it, and
mm-hmm.
it's still, I know I was sold, but it still doesn't make sense to me, because omitted means like
absent, left out.
Exactly, left out.
Yeah. So, Empress, we don't throw them away. What we do is we look at them and then we craft an affidavit by court action. Okay, because remember, behind those fraudulent documents is dumb diversa, CESA QV, and all of those fake documents that are giving a false identity to everybody that's that thinks they're talking about them on those documents. So we just lean it And then we create our own sovereign living birth affidavit, and we use the language that we use, the sovereign living language that we use to state who are the parents, whose mother, whose father, who we are, who is our grand matriarch, and all of that. See, no one can tell our truth like we can, so we should never even leave it up to anybody else.
Islam Empress.
Yeah. Yes, yes. Islam, and you have all authority to state who you really are. And in fact, no one else has the authority to, I can't even state who you are. I can be a witness and say, yes, you are a sovereign living heir. But you have to actually state who you are first. So, yeah, that is why we speak by affidavit, because that's a form. It is and in the Biblioteliotheque, it says it's a form of godliness without the power. That's what it says in the Biblioteliotheque about those documents. They are a form of godliness, and they use that word on purpose. Forms are not the real thing. Forms are not the real thing. That's why we speak by affidavit for everything, you know. So we lean those things and then create our own living one and put the living one on the public record. Now, we create one in red first and put it on the public record because we're God, period. There's nothing even behind that. And then we create a blue sovereign living affidavit, birth affidavit, if you want to do things like commerce and whatever else you want to do. But again, on the same government letterhead, et cetera, et cetera. And then if you want to say something to the quote-unquote IRS, if you want to say something or talk about a benefit or anything like that, there's a couple of things to keep in mind, Morris. And again, we're talking about the all caps. First and foremost, when you send things off, you're sending it off to a custodian in your office. So it's almost like you work from home and you got some subjects up there and a secretary and all of that, and they're not even secretaries, they're custodians. You got them sitting there waiting to hear from you. But if they see a form come through, they're going to say, okay, this is a citizen, so just send that to the citizen pile and put it in the debtor pile. Okay? And when they see affidavits, sovereign living affidavits come through, no need to respond, just do as commanded, period. Silence is acquiescence, and that's why when you don't hear back, that means they've acquiesced to what you said, because it's a court action. So it's not like they can argue with a court action. You see, and to caveat what the Empress was saying about the quote-unquote elites, first, let me say that the elites, they had us mispronouncing who we were. Just like we're the Moabites and Canaanites, we're also the Elites. El means God.
Islam.
We've been the Elites.
What? Oh.
Yeah. And so they had to hypothecate it, so they had to mispronounce it.
Wow.
And the whole time they've been pretending to be the Elites, calling themselves elites. What? Who's that? It's phony. It's fake.
Wow. Islam, though, if I may ask a question.
Yes, Islam, Empress.
On one of the affidavits, let me see if I get to it right quick. On the electronic money interchange command, under the account number, you have subject account, and then you list your sovereign appellation that your mother gave you, and then you have an access number. It says 999154. And then account number. Where did the access number and account number come from?
That was what the custodians in the Office of Navy Federal issued. And they did, again, they issued, initially when I first got that account, I was asleep. I've had it for many, many, many years. I was asleep. And they issued that as an access number and as an account number. So then what did we do? And you all have seen the liens and things. We liened Navy Federal, the court's Navy Federal, and we told them that we're the real Navy Federal and that they're custodians in the Office of Navy Federal. And then we issued our own sovereign living numbers. And the reason that Pauline Denise Ritchie is a subject, again, in all capital letters, is that thing is, and it's not a thing, it's a living natural person, is subject to me. It goes and gets the resources and the credits and all of that belong to us rightfully. So that's why, and again, that all caps is, that subject is issued by us. That is a ward of the state. It's a state corporation. It's a state company, a state resource. And when I say state, you know it's the Moors. It's our sovereign state. It's the Empire State of Morocco. And when you see Pauline Denise Ritchie with a capital P and the rest of the letters lowercase, that is a ward of the sovereign state. It's a ward for the sovereign state. It's a minor. So then the sovereign fiduciary tells the minor what to do. And our courts govern those instruments, because those are instruments. Those are not us. Those are instruments.
Islam. So the access number, would that be another word for like a login number or something? Because I never got an access. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's also a cover for the real account number, because they issue a real account number and then they cover it with an access so that the real number is not on the public record. And then they go about using the real number to do things. Because they say that that number belongs to a minor. And so what do? We lien them and tell them, nope, we're not minors. We're the heirs. And we tell those numbers what to do. That's why we issued all that we issued and put it on the public record so that everyone can see that we govern that. And this is how you govern that resource. And then you tell that resource what to do. Because even after all that we have done, the custodians in the office of did not have the authority, nor have they even tried to close anything, because we didn't say close it. So we've done demonstration after demonstration after demonstration with the custodians. And all they're doing is saying, oh, yep, she got that degree, so make that available. Oh, she got that degree, make that available. Oh, this affidavit had a little something in it that wasn't quite right, so we're not even going to respond to that. We just let her figure out that she needs to fix that. And then the ancestors will say, okay, look back at what you did. And we look back because we didn't see movement. We needed to see movement. And because I didn't see movement, I would look back and say, oh, this is why they didn't move, so let me fix that.
Islam. So speaking on movement, the Form D, I had a conversation with a brother today about that particular one. And let me go to it right quick. Let's see.
Again, this is all about that all caps and how to use and how to move about, etc. Go ahead, Empress.
Yes. And so the brother was saying that once you do this Form D and send it off to like the office of the IRS, the office of the tax, no, not the tax and finance, but the Treasury, the custodians and all those offices, and put them on notice that they may acquiesce by communicating with you directly and then just send things through the mail. And so I was wondering, when it comes to the mailing location, is it, because I have my mailing location that I get all of my mail sent to, but I'm not there physically to get it, would it be prudent to attach an affidavit of where I want my mail to be sent to for me to actually get it? Am I making sense?
It makes complete sense to me. Your question makes complete sense. I would like for you to answer it.
Okay, then duh. Yes, that means yes in Chinese. Duh.
I knew you would get it, Empress.
Okay.
And it's good to bounce those things off of each other. I do that sometimes too. I say, oh. But yeah, absolutely. Your spirit knows the answer.
All right.
And just for the record, another thing that the Form D does, the Form D is, first of all, we did not fill out the Securities and Exchanges version of the Form D. We did not fill that out.
There's
because
quite a few of them, though. Like, dear God, I was searching, and I was like, there's like 10 of them.
Yeah.
And more.
Yes, the one that we looked at and then crafted an affidavit, because that's what we've been telling others to do. We do it. We do that. We do what we've been suggesting and saying is the law, because that's the law. We crafted a Form D affidavit, 2 of them, one in red and one in blue. And what it does is just, it says that we have the authority as the original Securities and Exchange Commission, because that's who we are. We're the original. They're not. We have the authority to tribute our own dollarium, our own currency, without fear of a corporate Securities and Exchange Commission coming in and trying to govern anything. That's what the Form D, that was its main purpose for the affidavit of Form D. Yeah. But all it is just, ensuring that we first of all stay in our sovereign status, because we're not acquiescing to anything. We're going to continue to speak by affidavit. Despite what they may say, on their website, they may say something about this form is required for this, that, and the third. They're not even talking to us. They're talking to corpses. And to what the Empress was saying about, and this is what prompted the L-ites conversation. L-ites do not fill out forms. I'm just saying. You will never catch. In our sleep, we would have never caught Bill Gates filling out one of those forms, a form for anything. We would have never caught Warren Buffett filling out a form. They go from the top down. They speak through, now they were speaking through, or acting through attorneys. Well, we're the law. So it's like whatever documents we send, it gives them the sense and the knowing that it's coming from a law department or a law entity. And in reality, they know it's coming directly from the law. That's why we speak by affidavit and do not fill out their forms, because forms are, and I'm not being arrogant when I say this, Morris, forms are for the citizens. They're not for the noble L-ites. They are for, we always speak by affidavit. Always, always, always. Because that is how those who are in charge of things speak. What does it look like if a CEO is filling out a form to get a benefit from his company? He doesn't do that. In order to, this is what CEOs do. CEOs, when they want something from a benefit from their company, they get an attorney to write up a document, an affidavit, a long form, and they call it long form. That's another way of that's them saying on legal paper. Okay. And the long form is nothing more than an affidavit. Got more coming in, Islam. So we speak by affidavit, period. That is the way that we were supposed to be speaking in the first place. Because there are things that we need to say with regard to our request that specify our authority to even state what it is that we're stating, because we're not asking, we're commanding. If you're requesting something, then you fill out a form. Well, why? The Lites don't request things. They don't. They just write it up, make sure it's in alignment with the law, and then command it. Send the command. And that's what brought up the Lites conversation is we are not used to that. But now the head is the tail and the tail is the head. Right? So we have to change all that we thought has to be changed, and we have to start doing things the new way that real Lites do things. Yes,
the apparatus as well. Don't forget that one word, apparatus. Remember? Yes.
Yes, Islam. What were we saying about that? I know I brought up that the Prophet said it a couple of times. He talked about
because you had heard a hybrid use that word, and he said we lost the apparatus of something. The state. Yeah.
Yes, I watch a lot of, and the ancestors direct me to what it is that I need to watch. And just like they do you know, they direct you to, they pop things up that you didn't even request or weren't even looking for, because we all have to know. And I was watching a video, and someone who has a foreign subject who has lived lavishly off of, or acted like he was living lavishly off of what he knew, stated that they lost the apparatus of the state. He called the state an apparatus, and in a way that's right. Our prophet talked about how zeppelins and apparatus were going to lift us up over the trouble. He's talking about the state. Statehood, when you're talking about property and access to the estate, the reason it's called an estate, e-state, is because statehood is how you access it. So we had to do the things that needed to be done in order to proclaim our sovereign statehood on the public record. And I will put, because it's important that we see and know what needed to be done in order for us to properly and competently declare our statehood on the public record. I'm going to put a link to our statehood proclamation video, and it's a short video. It's like, I think, about 15 minutes or something like that. I'm going to put a link to our statehood proclamation on in the chat and under this video, so that you can look at it and see what we did in order to properly proclaim our statehood. Okay? Because it's one thing to claim, but you need to actually do the research where international law is concerned with regard to what states have the authority and the power to do. Because we have the authority and the power to do all that we could think or ask or seek or want. But it has to be done according to international law, because that's what we put in place. Okay. We said that anyone wanting to proclaim to be a state has to do this.
Come on,
and this.
Angel Bay. Did you get a Lincoln or Cadillac, maybe,
So,
Angel Bay?
hold on for just
Tell
a
us
moment.
all about your...
Just a moment. Isn't it interesting? Let's see. Okay, so let me go ahead and put the link to the statehood document. The statehood video, because I mean, I knew that statehood was important. I did not know how important that it was until the ancestors showed us why they were telling us to do all the things that they were telling us to do. For example, they told us to, that we need our own. It's a 6-minute video. Here it is. They told us that we need our own language, which is ancient English. They said that we needed, and again, all I did was look up, the word state, and I also looked up nation, and then I looked up nationality. And when you look up the word nation, it says it's a people who have their own economy, which is their own money, and their own money system, and their own banking system. They have their own language that they all overstand, and it said understand, but we say overstand. And there were several other things that it stated. The link is in the chat to the 13 things, and we did way more than 13 things, but those were the 13 according to the Montevideo Act of 1933, and according to international law and what our ancestors had put on the public record previously about states and what states should do. States have to have a government. And some people think that the government and the state is the same thing. The state is an apparatus that the government uses in order to get the people what the people need. And so whenever, and I use this as an example because most of us can relate to this example, where let's just say, for example, if you went onto a property and let's say it had a for sale sign or whatever, you walked onto that property and you started looking around, and someone who lived next door or across the street would pick up the phone and call the policy enforcers, because they would say it's a prowler or someone, someone on there, and they're looking all around and things like that. Whenever people would do that, what we did not know is that they were acting in the capacity of the state in protecting property. And they know that if they call policy enforcers who worked for their state corporation, that's why state of this and state of that had to be leaned. Anyone picking up the phone is instituting a contract that they were able to put over on you. And then you had to find out how to get out of that. They were agents for their state, quote unquote.
Islam. That's why they had the see something, say something whole thing. And I've noticed that has gone down a lot, because after 9/11 it was rampant. See something, say something. See something, say something. And now it's not as, flagrant as it once upon a time was.
Those are state principles that we need to know. Because now that we have the apparatus of the state in our possession, because we've competently and properly stated the estate. And our status and state is the same thing. So now that we have that, we're talking property now and protection of property, because all property belongs to the state. That's why the one that was acting as Secretary of State, all of the property ran through that office. When it came to conveyances, it ran through there. All caps of anything ran through that office. Any all caps ran through that office. They said corporations, that the Secretary of State is in charge of all corporations. That office, which is our office, is in charge of all property. Okay? So, and we're also, in our capacity as sovereign state secretary, in our capacity there, any all caps that our state issues, we have the say over that all caps, even if it belongs to a citizen. We have the say over that. Any, you know, and we do that by court action, okay? But we don't do it out of malice. We do it lawfully and peacefully. But we still have it. And they gave us good examples of that whenever we would be innocently looking around and policy enforcers showed up seemingly out of nowhere. Well, it wasn't out of nowhere. It was someone using the quote-unquote power of the state to protect quote-unquote state property, because it can have as many realtors on it as they want to have on it, any signs, but the tax assessor is a state office, as well as county. So that means that if the tax assessor can assess a tax on that property and then take it according to that, that means whoever's saying they own it don't own it. They don't own anything. So what does that mean? All property goes through the state secretary's office. All property. And property is anything in all capital letters. Property is anything in all capital letters. So when you go into a fake court and they all capitalize everything, they're calling you property. It's called an in rem action. In rem, R-E-M. Rem means property. So does res, R-E-S. R-E-S and R-E-M means property. But we are the fiduciaries of all property. That's why being the state fiduciary for our sovereign state and having done the things that we need to do and even more things, and again, more, when I say we've done what we need to do in terms of being the state, that means all of us. Doesn't mean just me. So we all have a state responsibility to push forth and put forth and speak statehood. We should be speaking statehood every 5 seconds. Our state is the best. And then proving that it is with our sovereign affidavit. So, you know, everything has been put aright. It's on its rightful, everything is right. It's in its rightful place. And with everything being in its rightful place, now we just govern it accordingly. We govern it accordingly. I have some documents. Do you all want to meet this Sunday? If you do, let me
Yes.
know? You do?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Because that's absolutely something we should be deciding together. Okay. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 yeses. Are there any no's? Or so? There's another yes.
Yes.
Islam. There's
I think first, yes.
the yeses in the chat are pretty vigorous. Okay, so we will meet this coming Sunday at our regular time, 6. I want to show you more about statehood, because we have the empire state that all states are aligned with, okay? And really kind of like Washington is under the empire state. The empire state is the states united, all of us united together. Okay, so any rights and things that we are talking about with regard to Washington, because we have something really major to show you with regard to what we've done here in this territory, that should be done at all the states. So Moors, you should be putting the constitutions on the public record and then send it to us, a copy to us at thegovernment@gmail.com. Government has an E on the end. It's THE and then GOVERNMENTE, thegovernment@gmail.com. It's all one word. Send the constitutions to us that you put on government letterhead so that we can show you how to access the resources there. And we're going to be using our own money and everything, you know, for our estate, you know, for our states. And I will say this about the money again. I alluded to it earlier in the call, but we're glad to see those that are parts of temples and those that are tribes and nations instituting their own forms of currency, or their own, not forms of currency, their own currency, so that we can have somebody to trade with regard to our dollarium. We're just so excited about that. And you know, I was talking to one of our teachers about the dollarium back when we first introduced it. And our teacher was asking, you know, about the dollarium, you know, just to kind of, because we're always, they test us always. And so we said, you know, because they were getting asked a lot about it, because everyone associates us with our teachers. And we have several teachers, so it you know. And we said that we needed to rebut the fiat, and our teacher absolutely was in agreement with that, that we needed to break the spell over our minds about fiat being the only option. We needed to break that spell. And knowing that that's not our only option, in fact, it's not an option at all. Now we can use dollarium, we can use sovereign credits. Okay, and sovereign credits is just the stuff that we've been sending back and forth in the bank. We just say it's not fiat now. We've naturalized our resources, and now it's sovereign credits. So we're going to call it sovereign credits because we terminated all corporate contracts. So the things that I do with Navy Federal is done by sovereign credits. Okay. And so some people still call that fiat. It's not fiat for us. It's sovereign credits for us because we don't deal in fiat. We terminated all corporate contracts. And each fiat piece has a serial number on it because it's a contract. It's a contract. And they can trace it. If you pull it out of an ATM, and again, don't feel bad if you have to do that because people have to do what they have to do, but that stuff ain't going to be here much longer. That's why we're doing what we're doing. And we have chosen not to use it. Okay, we've chosen not to. Yes, Empress Angel, I can do that. You know, and everybody may not be there right now. Don't feel bad, because it's just not going to be around for people to use. And I'm just seeing, I love what I'm seeing, because I'm hearing even some who you know, the programming was on them pretty heavy, and so when we first introduced Dolarium, they were like, no, that's I'll just stick with fiat. And now we see them on the public record looking for ways to get out of using fiat. So we're excited about that, but by the same token, our heart kind of goes out to some of them, just because we know that they had to be put under some real pressure in order for them to change their minds about all of that, you know. And so we're just grateful to see temples using credit systems now, and the temples have been around.
Hey, Cynthia and Bay, how come you always sound so angry and desperate?
They've been around for a long time.
Hey, Cynthia. Cynthia, why are you always so angry and desperate?
Because they've been around for so long, you know, they're just now getting to the point where the temples are doing the you know, the credit system, you know. We're grateful that at least there is now something other than fiat that the Moors can look at. Okay, and any small part that we played in that, we're just over the moon excited, because we knew, and just like we told our teacher, that spell needed to be broken. It needed to be broken over our nation. It needed to be. And it was never over our nation. We just needed to wake up and know that we have the authority to do whatever it is we need to do on our land, because it's ours. And now we're bringing the resource piece in. The gold, the silver, the iron ore, the oil, all of that stuff. We all have it in our territories, the sea salt and all of that. We're just, you know, we're looking at what we have to do, and we're saying, okay, we're just going to get started. We're not intimidated by what we have to do and how big it might seem. We're just going to start increasing the harvest of sea salt that we produce, because right now we've only been producing enough for our household to use as we see and then using it in our lab work. For example, I took some sea salt. I had you know, there's something that most people put their dishes in for the dishes to dry after you wash them. You let them air dry in the dish rack, and under the dish rack there is this. You know, you put a rag there, or not a rag, but they have these placemats that you put there that are made of cloth to catch the water, so that the water's not just going onto the counter. And I was having a problem with mold coming on to that placemat. So what I did was I put some sea salt on. I sprinkled some sea salt on the placemat, all the way across the placemat, and it wasn't a whole lot. It was enough though. And you know, and then went about washing the dishes and putting them there like we normally do. And usually I would see mold start to build up there after about maybe 4 or 5 days. I would start seeing mold. This time with the sea salt there, just one application of sea salt, it took a whole month before I saw even a tiny little bit of mold. But that made it so that I didn't have to keep continuously bleaching and cleaning that thing every other day just to keep it clean. The sea salt stopped the mold from producing so quickly. So I'm excited about all that we are doing. Card, I still haven't received it. I'm excited about all, just one moment, Empress, I'll respond to that in just a moment. I'm excited about all that we have, all of the products and things that we have coming up. Because as a nation, everyone is looking like Moors. You have it all. You all have it all. Why? We can't wait to see what you produce. And then you're going to be, we're going to be setting everyone else free from fiat because we're not going to use it for our products. Yes, Empress Chitali. It was just, I was just like, I knew it. All I was thinking the whole time was I knew it. I did not have to work that hard to keep that thing clean. All I had to do was sprinkle some sea salt on that thing, and a whole month later, only one or two, just in the last couple of days, appeared, 1 or 2 little black dots or mold, and I can handle that. So the sea salt makes our bodies alkaline and all of that. So I'm just excited. And all territories have some sea salt somewhere, y'all. Your territory has a salt water body, a body of salt water at your territory. So if you're dealing with health issues, Morris, please go and get you about 2 of those 5-gallon liters or 5-liter things, the big water jugs, the big ones. Get you about 2 of those and get you some salt water in there, take it home, boil it down, and as it gets down to maybe the last ½ inch of water, turn the fire down to medium low. And when you turn it down to medium low, you'll get more salt at the end as it boils down to just the salt. And I'm telling you, that stuff works miracles and magic for us. It really does. It really does, to clean our systems out and everything. Because as you know, if you put sea salt, natural sea salt, even lab-created salt, if you put that on a piece of rotten meat, a meat that's rotting, it will liven it up a little bit. If you put it on old meat, it will. And not that we want to put it on old meat, but it's a good experiment. It's some good lab work to do. Or if you have meat in your refrigerator and it's starting to smell a little loud, put some sea salt on it for about 30 or 45 minutes, or put it in some water and sprinkle sea salt in the water for about 30 or 45 minutes and watch what happens to it. It gets back its natural color and it freshens up and you don't have that smell. So sea salt is all that. It really is. And we all have it. So we have and different territories, and this is the beauty of our estate. And this is why we're moving in this direction. Different territories have different grades and colors grades and colors and types of sea salt. So the Utah and Midwest has pink salt. That's where the original pink sea salt came from. And then over here we have white. It's just it looks like snow by the time you boil it down. It looks like snow over here. But then in the Louisiana territory, it comes out gray, and it's just as good for you. And they have different strengths and different salinity levels and things like that. But Moors, we have so many valuable resources that we're about to produce that it's just unbelievable. And we don't have to start off with a 800,000 square foot place. We can start off right from where we are and work our way up to that. And that way, by the time we get all the way up to something huge, we have done the lab work and worked out the kinks so that we can have smooth production and smooth capabilities. And again, fiduciary documents help us as we move through this process. So what we're doing is forever. We're leaving a legacy for our heirs, and we're not leaving. We're not going anywhere. We're here to stay. But we're creating a future for our heirs and their heirs and their heirs, and so on and so forth. So that's what we're moving to, where we don't depend on strangers to feed us. We don't depend on strangers to give us, money, or to even give us jobs. We do it ourselves, and that's what we're doing now. We're moving in that direction. Economic, everything. And the way Moors do things is and I told you all this before, when we first started the Consular Court Restoration Development Team in preparation for what we're doing now, which is our courts and the consulate and all of that, we were told by our teacher, because we were wondering how in the world are we going to do this when we have little to no Federal Reserve notes even. And our teacher said, just get it started. And nature will come to your aid. And he was so right about that. He was so right. So let's get our economy started. And we already know our ancestors are just they sitting there like this. Come on, y'all. We got you. Come on, though. You got to just get it started. And we got you. We got some stuff for you that you would not believe. So that's where we're going. That's another part of our strategy, our national strategy. We have several national strategies that we put in place. Liens is one. Court actions is the other. Terminations of corporate contracts is another national strategy. And of course, nationality is all nation strategy. And then we have our affidavits, and now our red letters and all of that. Those are all national strategies that we're doing together. Our letterhead. Any more who wants to use our letterhead can use it freely. So please know that. And there will be documents under this video that are on our letterhead. Go ahead and download them. And if you need to wipe away the wording and use the letterhead to start you a fresh document, feel free to do so. The documents, by the way, even though we penned the documents belong to all of us. So they're not just my documents, they belong to everybody. The information belongs to everybody. And that's something we learned from our teachers, that we don't, even though we sat down and did the research and did the work and looked at what our teachers did and pulled from them and pulled from this place and that place, we don't own the information. It belongs to all of us. Okay? So take it and use it how you want to use the information. Craft your own documents. If you see some documents that we've done and you want to edit and change and add and do whatever, please feel free to do that. You're sovereign. You can do that. Okay? Are there any other questions or comments about any of the things that we have discussed? We will meet Sunday based on the vote that we just took. We do have a majority who want to meet this Sunday at 6. And I'll have the demonstration, and I'll just take that time to show you the demonstration that we did with regard to Washington as one of the states united within the Empire State of Morocco, which is the United States also, because we are the states united. But we're the original United States, not the fake one. Okay, we're the original. They copied us. Always remember that. They did not invent anything new. Everything that was done, they just looked at what we did and pulled from it and capitalized it. Okay. Are there any questions, comments, or anything of that nature?
Islam. I have a comment.
Islam.
Hey, this is Chatali from the Khalifa territory.
Islam.
I about a gold clause, and so he responded and said it's in our liens and our fiduciaries already. So so I said to myself, well, why am I looking that up? I just because I was like, yeah, you're right, it is already there. But I researched it further, and so I learned that the clause was commonly used in contracts all the way up. One of the de facto presidents said that you can no longer use gold and silver. They told the businesses that, and so that's when. But it was commonly used just to put that clause in there. I want to be paid in silver and gold, or this is and so I when I further researched, they was like, you can still use it, which of course you can. You know, no fact the president can take away laws, you know, especially our supreme laws.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, well, okay, so that means, because I just started a business, and I wanted
Congratulations, Empress.
Thank you. So, but I wanted to make sure it was sovereign. But it was like, okay, so how do I do that? How do I introduce the gold and silver? And so knowing that you could just throw a clause in there in your policies and everything, that's how I want to be paid. There it is, there, you know, and that's covered. Because I was listening to a YouTube video about it, and they said, okay, well, you know, everybody's trying to get their hands on gold and silver, and you have all these people who are making private rounds, gold and silver rounds, and they were like, okay, you know what, you know, everybody's pushing to do this Bitcoin and all these different kind of things, and he was like, well, isn't it? Can't you just use the clause? It's like, well, you know, why are they trying to go this other route when you could just say that in your clause and you're covered, you know?
Yeah.
And so I said, oh, okay, well, okay, that makes sense, you know. So I'm just wherever you know, so whatever contract you're making or whatever you want to do, you can just throw a clause there as lawful, and they are bound by it. Because I even read further where somebody tried to go to court about the clause and hoping that the de facto court would overrule that clause that was in the contract about silver and gold. It's like, no, it stands. It stands. If you say that's how you pay, that's how you pay, you know.
Yeah.
That's in your contract.
So Empress, for those who may not know specifically what a gold clause is, can you give us an example of a gold clause?
So the gold clause is in the Constitution, Article 1.
Section 10.
Yes, Section 10. So so you would refer to that or point to that and say, according to that part of the Constitution, you know, you want to be paid by gold and silver. So it's
that simple.
Really,
yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to, because I was thinking at first that it was some kind of addendum we, you know, put on or, you know, attached to our documents or some kind of writ or something, but no, just a clause from the Constitution is what you put in your documents.
Yes. Yep. And even the mention of the Constitution in a document puts a gold clause in it.
Okay.
You don't even have to say it. You just say, according to the Constitution for the United States, etc., 1789, 1791, you know, this affidavit, etc., etc. It's a gold clause.
You're right.
Yeah.
And yeah, for me, you know, because some things go over my head, I'm gonna put it until I get comfortable.
Yeah.
But, you know, yeah, you are right. You just mentioned, you just pointed to the Constitution.
Yes.
There it is.
And you know what, Empress? Our court action statement mentions Article 3 courts. That automatically puts a gold clause in all of them. Also, because we're referring to Article 3 of the Constitution. Yeah.
Okay. I
love the law so much because it just. Okay, go ahead, Empress. I'm listening.
I was on a chat with some brothers who are still using the, what do you call that? The method where you're a secured party. And so I mentioned the Article 3 courts, and they was like, the Article 3 courts are already here. They haven't went anywhere, and they use it all the time. But I said, but it's corporation. You know, it's a corporation. It's not the organic. You know.
Yeah.
So you know, they had a rebuttal for everything, but not knowing that it's not proper, you know. And so some people, you know, when you say that, and you know, they think that you know, everything is still, all of the supreme laws being honored, but it's like, oh, all of it is corporation, you know, and people don't want that group, that particular group, they don't want to know really that that is a corporate side, yeah, de facto side. But they just think, you know, they just think that the article, that if they see anything that's Article 3, they're thinking that it's de facto, and that it's a proper de facto Article 3 court.
They just need to know the Clearfield doctrine about corporations, and corporations cannot govern, and it'll make sense to them. But I will say this about that: whenever I hear things like that, Empress, I don't even worry, and in a way, I kind of almost get a little bit of a little bit of, not panic, but just something that says, "Ooh, I hope they pay attention," because once, and this is the way our ancestors work, and this is how all of this is working. You told them the truth about Article 3 courts. So anything that they were using prior to you telling them the truth about that is not going to work for them anymore if they're going to a de facto court thinking they're using an Article 3 court. The ancestors, and that's the deal with, we don't realize that we're casting and breaking spells all the time with every word we speak. And this that we're talking about right here, if you want to use the word viral, there's nothing more viral than the sounds that are coming out of our mouths right now. So when we speak it, the ancestral energies automatically start.
You're right.
They start tapping folks on the shoulder and saying, "Okay, you gotta come up now, because when you know better, you gotta do better."
Yeah.
When you know better. Yeah.
I did mention it on that particular call, was I do know that our words go viral, you know, more than we think, you know. I mean, it's out. Once you say it, it's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Planting that seed.
Yep. And, you know, at first I thought it was just me. Like, I would be talking to people about something, like they would say something about, yeah, I got an EIN, and, you know, they sent a letter saying that I owe some taxes or something like that. And then I would tell them, you know, well, you need to do a reversion of estate on that sequence of numbers. The benefit is yours, but you need to lean that EIN and then produce that number in blue on your fiduciary document. And then it never fails, maybe like 3 weeks to 2 months maybe later, I would hear from them and they would say, "Ooh, as soon as I got off the phone with you, I got a letter in the mail saying la 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 la, and I had to hurry up and lean that thing." And I'm like, yeah. The ancestors, when we know better, we have to do better. We have to. Yeah. And they make it quick that, okay, you heard the truth. Now you're going to be tested to manifest the truth. But see, when we speak, the ancestors have it to hit the truth center. And whether people say it or not, it's hitting their truth center. They can feel it. And then the ancestors will say, okay, testing time for that one right there. They will say it's testing time for that one right there. So, Empress Tony, you asked the question about your allodial card to your domicile that you still haven't received it. Who did you order it from? Or you don't have to say an appellation, but because I don't do those types of cards, because our focus is on our economic growth.
Islam, every. I thought that when I received my titles, my pirate paper, that it would come within.
Your what paper?
Say it again, fair lady.
What paper did you say you received that you were thinking that it came with?
My pirate paper, my titles, my proclamation of my nationality.
Oh, And so, who is it that stamped your document?
Empress Fatima.
Okay, so they do things a little bit differently from the way that we do them. Those are our brothers and sisters, but they do things differently from the way we do them. So you would need to get in touch with her about what they're doing so that she can assist you with getting them.
Islam.
Yeah, they specifically govern the documents that come to them. So, yeah.
Overstand.
Yeah. Islam.
I appreciate you, Islam.
Sure, Islam. Are there any other questions or comments regarding any wisdom, anything that we've discussed or anything of that nature? Islam, Empress.
Yes. I just wanted to share, I recently saw a public statement from...
That's okay. Go ahead, Empress.
Okay. It was a public statement, and I guess an affidavit, from it was a top, in that system, physician, and he said that he is a physician under the United States of America, United States for America. He is for the de jure and the original, and that he is going to uphold his Hippocratic oath, and he was going to honor his contract in the way it was supposed to be honored. So I felt as if he was speaking to us, because he said other key things that sound like our conversations here. So I just wanted to put that out there. They are watching us, and they want it too. And I'm hearing more of them saying we're going back to the Constitution for America, not of. I'm hearing those words. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. Islam.
I will say this about that. They are actors, and it is their job to act out what we are supposed to be doing. So when you hear them talking like that, all they're doing is stating or saying, not stating, but saying what we should be saying. But they're always going to put a little corruption in there, because none of them are physicians, not a single one. They're custodians in the office of, and that's why people, that's why that field is having so many issues, is because they don't have any real doctors in it. The Moors are the doctors and scientists and etc. And they know that it's time for that to manifest. So they're trying to call it forth in the best way that they know how. The Moorish doctors and the Moorish physicians and all of that, which I'll say it because it's the truth. By bloodline and birthright, we're all physicians. And the way that starts is we heal ourselves first. We get our bodies as alkaline and into a homeostasis or homeostatic condition. In other words, heal ourselves 100%, and then we'll be able to assist each other with healing. And that's why we're talking about the sea salt and all the natural products and things, because those things work with our bodies and not against our bodies, like the things we buy in the grocery store. But we're going to have grocery stores. We're going to have Moorish grocery stores or grocery stores with natural products in them. And in many places, we already have that. Some of them still think they're black, but they're Moors. But they're even looking at the, you know, the things, the natural skin products, the natural things that we consume. The oil and the wine is both internal and external for us. If you know the covenant of the oil and the wine in the Biblios Heliotext, those things, and it's not the wine you buy in the store. It's not that one. It's a natural wine, and it don't even taste the same, doesn't do the same things, and there's also the oil, and that's why we put oil on our natural resource plan that we're implementing. So, yeah, they're just acting. They're acting out what we should be doing, and they're calling it forth in the best way that they know how. But we have to actually, physicians, heal yourselves. This works. Everything that we have to do going forward works the same way as what we've done already. How did we start our courts? By adjudicating our own affairs first. I had to do court actions on that dead zombie walking around pretending to be me. Then I could assist others with court actions. But I had to deal with that first, and then I was tested on that. Y'all saw my tests, you know, where, you know, in the POW, they're trying to get me to, and really they knew I wasn't going to acquiesce. They just said, we're just going to test her according to Revelations, the 2nd chapter. So I stayed in there for 10 days, just like Revelations, the 2nd chapter says. And then, out, because passing the test. And so, you know, everything that we're doing coming up is going to be, it's going to take the same amount of effort as what we've done already. Now, the law is going out exponentially just because so many affidavits are going out with court action language at the top of them. So our courts are active. Ding! Voila, abracadabra. Period. And so our commerce is going to be the same way. Merchant cards and things like that, it's slow going right now, and that's okay because it needs to be slow going right now. Just for a moment, because we know it's going to pick up very quickly as other things manifest. Okay, so please keep the precepts of hawala banking, which we talked about in our last meeting. We're going to be talking about that more often because all Moors are bankers, and we all have to get ready to start banking with each other. You are the bank, okay? You are the bank. So whenever we need a bank in your territory, we're going to come to you and say, hey, these banking principles and this and this and this. And we're all going to set our banks up together. We're going to be doing that the same way we did courts and nationality and right to travel and all of that stuff. You know, we do all of that together. So we're just going to keep moving together forward with regard to banking. Our states, or the several states, that's what it's called, the several states or the states united. That's going to be very important because the Moors at your territory may have need of sea salt from this territory. And we want to make sure that everyone can get as much as they need without having to deal with fiat. So now we have Dollarium. We have ways to transfer Dollarium back and forth. And then any of the other things that are on our list, we're implementing banking so that we can deal with one another that way. And we each in our territories are going to be doing that between each other, our Hawala banking. Hawala banks is Hawala. With that being stated, we will adjourn here, and then we will meet on Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern at the same time. And so do you have a Facebook we can tap in? I answered it for me. I have to get in connect with Empress Fatima. Are you asking me, do I have a Facebook, Empress? Or were you speaking to someone else in the chat? You said, do you have a Facebook we can tap in? Were you speaking to me? I can't hear you. You're on mute. Let me see if I could. Go ahead, Empress. I cannot hear you. I don't know why.
Islam. There she goes.
Okay. Yeah.
I said my phone keep glitching, but this is for all the Moors. Like, if you have a Facebook, I would love to tap in with everyone, so I can get to know everyone on a personal level.
Okay.
You know,
I think you and I are already connected on social media, aren't we?
We are friends.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. Any other Moors, who want to connect with Empress Tony, put your Facebook link in the chat, or look her up on social media. Is it, Empress, what is the name of your Facebook page? Is it's I believe it's what you have there, isn't it?
Islam. Diall Simone Bay. So Jordan.
Islam. Yes, Islam. So look her up on social media, and let's all continue connecting. With that being stated, are there any other questions?
Islam?
Islam, Empress.
Okay, so I wanted to share something about...
Can you speak up just a little bit, Empress? Speak up just a little bit louder.
Okay, can you hear me now? I'm on my headphones.
Yes, thank you.
I wanted to mention something. I work a lot in the spirit realm. Before I even knew of, like, I did research, and I was researching more science and stuff. So much, and at that time, the internet, everything, and it was spirit that told me.
You're fading in and out, Empress, for some reason.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Okay, one second. So I even doubted spirit, and as I was driving, and I kept seeing driver's licenses that said Bay, Bay, Bay over and over. Anyway, so I have a ton of stories to tell, but one of the stories that recently was when I signed my, and before I even sent them out, some Asiatic, and we know we use the Asiatics, but in the dream, dream state, they use symbolism.
Mm-hmm.
So how we used to understand Asiatics came, and they like wrote or something like that more on my hand, and they did like a body scan on me, and that's like basically how I was initiated in. And then, but then some stuff happened where I was getting tested.
Yeah, you faded all the way out. We could not hear what you said. Yeah, you faded all the way out as you were saying.
Okay.
Are you there, Empress? I think that her internet may have dropped. Oh, I wanted to hear that. Okay. I hope she comes back. So we will meet on Sunday, and hopefully, and if the Empress listens to this, she will hear me say this. To please come back on Sunday and tell us what we missed, because we missed it. We missed what you were saying. We're going to go ahead and adjourn until Sunday at 6 p.m. and we will pick back up right here with our next Congressional Assembly. Moors, may I say something, please, about your energy? Even when like today, I ran down up the way to Seattle, territory and then came back here to Federal Way, and I got in a little after, it was less than an hour before this call, and I thought I was going to be tired, but the energy that you all come to the call with is so powerful and so strong that I can't stay tired or anything because I can feel your energy before we even speak. You all have some powerful, awesome energy. I just love it. It's like food. It is like food for my spirit. I got goosebumps just thinking about it. So thank you for coming to this call with the energy that you come with. It is the most, it's like somebody in the desert and they dive straight into some clean water to drink. Thank you for coming to the call with that energy. It's amazing. It is amazing. And, you know, I will say this, it took us a minute to get to this point, but we're here. You know, when we first were having the calls, we were working out some things. We were trying to get our energies aligned. We were chanting on some of the calls. We was burning sage and everything. And now we got it. So thank you so much for being here. And we will meet again on Sunday. Peace and grand rising. Islam.
Islam, peace and grand rising.
Much love, much love.
Islam. Oof.